I can already feel the energy of the Utah haters feasting on mediocrity. I am amazed that there's so much college football. And it must have been 200 or 300 comments talking about, oh, Utah sucks. Oh, they're terrible. Look, I love the fact that you guys coalesce around the violence and anger that you have for Utah football. And I also love the fact that all of a sudden this is a Utah show. Like,
and go ahead, take your one day. Take your one day. I mean, we can't be right every single day. We can't be right about Kimmel. We can't be right about Avery Johnson. You know, I mean, we can't be right for like years on end. I mean,
well, you're just going to go right to. You're just going to go right to the.
I don't even care, dude.
Aren't you?
I don't even care. I don't even care. Look at the comment section. Oh, what happened? You guys got it wrong. Utah sucks. Tech's amazing. Oh man, Monty, what happened? Like, okay, cool, man. Celebrate your one day. You guys get one day to be the best version of yourselves today.
I'm not even like, the funny thing is, like, it's not personal to me when Utah loses. Now, it's personal to me when Notre Dame loses, and giving up 871 points to Purdue the other day was not ideal. And I appreciated all the comments ripping Notre Dame as well. At least some of you understand I'm a suffering Catholic, which is fine. Listen, my point is, I think what happened here is, and then of course we get Oak State James, who's never wrong about anything. I would just like to point out, you can add another name to the Oak State James tombstone, if you will. Cody Ford, Josh Ford, Mark Ford, Tim Ford, the Ford Theater. Brother. What happened to the best tight end in the history of college football, James? What happened to James, as though on brand, tweets out that he was so excited about the first possession for Oak State.
I feel so much better.
Oh, and then Tulsa went on to beat the shit out of Oak State for the entire game. And the best part was that Josh Ford did not have any impact on the game. None. And remember that Josh Ford is the best tight end. I believe, I'm not exaggerating, I believe Oak State James said that Josh Ford is the best tight end in the country, or last year said that. And he ain't even a factor. He ain't even a factor, which I think is amazing. Yeah, well, and then there's Calford and our guy Gumby. I mean, I have no idea what you even say about JK and just how inept the Cal offense was the other night. I'll remind you, that was San Diego State, who has not beaten anybody. Nobody.
Hasn't got the pro rata they deserve.
No, and I'm shocked. I am shocked. Yeah, Tulsa hasn't. Do you guys understand that Pearl Harbor was still pristine and ships had not sunk the last time that Tulsa did anything on a football field? Like, I mean, it was that long ago. Are you kidding me right now? And so that's why I said, like, I have no joy. I am here to pour kerosene on top of your fires of doom. I am amazed by it. And the fact that I get to, on a daily basis, read the hilarity of the comment section is amazing. But let's get into it. As always, the Monty Show, presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, bar none. We had a lot of rain right here in the great state of Utah. How about rain? It's not blistering hot. I'm really surprised we're not in the dead of winter, because it is September 22nd. And with the way things have been going, but we had a lot of rain. We had a lot of accidents. Folks, slow down. When it rains, you got to be careful. Kids are back in school. There's a lot more cars on the road in the morning and in the afternoon. Please slow down. And if the worst happens, remember, get to the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, where you never reach into your pocket to pay the Advocates. In fact, you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. Best part is you have nothing to lose. you can talk to an injury attorney 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. Obviously, the biggest story of the weekend, I think, in college football was a huge weekend for the Big 12 on both the good and the bad. Obviously, the game of the weekend was Texas Tech in Salt Lake City to take on Utah, and I think there was a lot of good that came out of this game for Texas Tech. I mean, particularly the defensive line really stood out. But I think you have to start asking questions about Behren Morton. And I know that I took a lot of heat on this show last week talking about, hey, is Behren Morton a big game quarterback? And up and down and all around, I was told that I am just a hater and I don't like Texas Tech. And okay, you can live in that realm. But I am telling you, Behren Morton was, it's not even that Behren wasn't good at Utah. He was downright dreadful at Utah. He did not read the defense well. He did not play well. And our biggest fears about Behren Morton were realized this weekend because he is a statue. He is in the pocket. He is not mobile. And when he did choose to try and escape the pocket, I don't know who's coaching him to take on linebackers, but he's got to stop doing that, because Behren Morton took several hits that simply he did not have to take. And Jake, I think the question has to be asked, is Behren Morton a big game quarterback?
Well, I mean, certainly he didn't look like a big game quarterback against the Utes. I mean, I think that the decision making was definitely questionable. I mean, obviously, everyone's looking at the scoreboard and saying that Tech won by 24. 2 of those touchdowns were garbage time touchdowns when the game was already decided. So, I mean, you really beat Utah by what, 2 possessions, and I think that what was crazy is the first half was just turnover city. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the hell Dampier was doing, but for Behren Morton, I mean, there, some of those throws were just unexplainable. I mean, I don't know, like, what you thought you were doing with some of those throws. I don't know what you saw or didn't see. And yeah, to your point, I mean, the hit that he took from the linebacker, I mean, then he takes that hit where he hits his head on the ground, leaves the game, comes back in the game, takes another big hit. Oh, I think 2 plays after he'd come back in the game or whatever. And I don't know what I love the kid's style, right? Like, I love the way he plays the position in terms of like leading his team,
Right.
the vibe when he's in there, like, they feel like a good offense when he's in there. But the problem is that there's way too much of like, hey, we're going to run around a little bit and just kind of throw it up to my guy and try to let him make a play. And ultimately that leads to interceptions. So, I mean, is he a big game quarterback? I mean, at this point, no, but the wild part is that somehow, some way, those deficiencies still led to Tech, winning in what turned out to be pretty comfortable fashion.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem for Behren Morton is that he just does not seem, and he's going to play this week. There's almost no doubt about that after what Joey McGuire said today, and I'll play the tape for you in a minute. But it just seems like now, coming out of this win, you feel like you have questions that need to be answered at the quarterback spot. I think there's no question about that. The other thing that I think really stands out is that you probably need to find a number 1 running back at Tech. I mean, you still won this game. You look at some of the numbers that come out of this game in the hows and the whys. I don't think there's any doubt the time of possession, Utah's defense being on the field for 32 minutes is for any defense is never going to be a good thing. But at the end of the day, if you're just going to read a box score, Texas Tech puts up 484 yards of offense, which on the surface seems great until you figure out that, you still have a lot to learn about this offense. I think the offensive line at Texas Tech is going to be heavily tested through the rest of this schedule. I think that's a real question. But obviously, with what Texas Tech did defensively, I thought Jacob Robinson was absolutely fantastic. And again, I think all the guys that we talked about, I thought Utah did a really good job keying on Romello Height, and everybody else stepped up on that defense. I mean, the front 7 really was a front 5. Were very, very good for Texas Tech, which gives you a lot of hope going forward that they can get those stops. But there is no question that both of these teams have a lot of improving to do. Texas Tech has got to clean up the penalties, because now it's becoming a regular pattern where they're making mistakes that are costing them field position. And I think in this game cost them opportunities to score points. But there's no doubt that now you feel like Texas Tech has I don't want to say the foundation. They simply have the building blocks to move forward and compete for the top of this league. And as far as what we learned about Utah, I think this injury thing now, one, it feels like an excuse, right? There's this story going around. Kyle Whittingham said today that Devin Dampier couldn't practice last Tuesday and Wednesday. Funny thing is, he wasn't on the injury report, which is a mandate now in the Big 12. This is a huge problem. And if, in fact, it is true that Devin Dampier is dealing with an ankle injury, which I think we heard about all weekend long, call it an excuse, call it what you want. Their offense was boring. And if Devin Dampier is hurt and did not show up on the injury report, Utah needs to be significantly punished for that, because there is a process in place to make sure that does not happen. And if this is truly what happened, Utah did not follow that process, and the Big 12 has to come down hard on that, because you cannot have, in my opinion, one of the biggest games of the year in this conference, and nobody knew the quarterback was dealing with a significant injury to the point where Dampier was not able to practice Tuesday and Wednesday. I would call that a significant injury. And I don't know if you're Brett Yormark, if you can just let that slide. In fact, I know you cannot. And the other thing that was so clear here, this is the same Utah offense that has played Kyle Whittingham for his entire head coaching career at Utah. It was boring, it was unimaginative, and it was really conservative. And the one time Utah truly took a shot down the field, your best offensive player in Spencer Fano made a massive mental error that took a touchdown off the board that likely would have changed the complexion of that game. And I don't know how other else to spin it. Utah's offense has got to open things up. You have explosive players. Obviously, you have one of the most explosive quarterbacks in the country, and it didn't look like it. And the idea that Devin Dampier's injury is why you were conservative, no, bro, I'm not buying that. You were conservative because you've always been conservative. You didn't take shots because you never take shots. You were not dynamic and creative in your play calling and your schematics because you've never been dynamic and compelling and creative in your schematics on offense. And it is a real problem. And if you are, in my opinion, not the same secondary that you have been historically at Utah, you had better open up the offense. Because when you run into an offense like Texas Tech, now, I think some of the things that went around in this game, the officiating was one of the most poorly officiated games I've seen probably in the last 3 years. I mean, just blown calls, missed calls, no calls, bad calls, but that benefited and damaged both sides. You look at some of the things that happened for Utah, and you look at some of the numbers. You couldn't get off the field on third down, and you did not convert on third down. And when we start looking at some of the throws, and you start looking at why you were 4 of 14 on third down, it was just bad play design. It was, in my opinion, in a lot of those cases, I can't say the play call was bad because in theory, the play is good. But Texas Tech was playing a lot of packages where they had 4 guys down and they were pressuring the quarterback. It's not like Texas Tech packed the box and dominated the line of scrimmage defensively. You know what happened? They didn't pack the box, and you couldn't run through the A or the B. And you never tried to get outside. And the few times you did, now we know Devin Dampier has a pretty significant ankle injury, it sounds like, that didn't allow him to get outside. So, Jake, I think to end this blustery rant, I don't think there's anywhere to hide for Utah's offense. It's the same boring-ass, bland offense we've known for over a decade.
Yeah, and I think what makes matters worse is it's not just boring and bland and unimaginative because you just want to run it a lot. what's boring and bland and unimaginative about it is you had no answer when you were down 10 as to what you should do. I mean, again, the idea that Skylar Gill Howard is just eating you alive and you have no answer for him, I thought was completely unacceptable. I mean, I don't know. Like at some point, you might want to show your running backs how to provide pass pro. Like at some point, you might want to get to a place where, because what no one wants to talk about is, hey, well, Dampier threw all these interceptions and didn't have a good game, and now allegedly was playing hurt. And well, why was he running around so much? Well, he was running around so much because Tech was getting pressure. Tech was on him the whole game. So
with
to me,
four guys,
with four guys. So let me get this right. With four guys, they're getting pressure. They're forcing your quarterback to run his ass off the whole game. And again, Dampier deserves a lot of criticism in this game. I agree. You made a lot of ill-advised throws, a lot of throws that I just have no idea what you were looking at. You forced it into double coverage multiple times, and they made you pay the price for that multiple times. Now, again, everyone's cracking Utah's defense. Tech should have had 40 in this game. Tech should have had 45 in this game. How many times do they need to give you the ball before you go down and score? But why did you not score as much? Well, Baron Morton didn't have a good game. Then Will Hammond comes in and lights the world on fire. And now we have what some might call a quarterback conversation. So
I think Will Hammond, and I think this is they're not making a quarterback change at Texas Tech. Let's be
clearly not.
Let's be very clear about that. And I don't think they should. But there is no question now. You have to wonder if Baron Morton has the fortitude to compete in tough environments. Say what you want about the Utah on-field product. That place was absolutely shaking on Saturday morning. The fans showed up as they always do.
And it caused multiple penalties.
It is one of the best home field advantages in college football, and there's just no excuse to not be able to convert. And again, my belief is you had these offensive issues because Devin Dampier is playing on one leg. And you saw that, and it absolutely, like the Will Hammond stuff at the end of the game, the defense was dead. They were on the field for how many sustained drives? Like, I'm watching the tape of that game, rewatching the tape of that game yesterday, and there are so many drives here where you're like, okay, well, great, we're in the second quarter, and it's 7 plays, it's 8 plays. We're in the third quarter and it's 6 plays and 5 plays. And then you open the fourth quarter with a 12-play, 79-yard drive, 4.5 minutes. That right there is where the game should have ended, right? But then Utah answers 8 plays and 75 yards, and you get just an unbelievable play out of Devin Dampier to Ryan Davis, which I thought was one of the plays of the game, which gave Wayshawn Parker an easy run into the end zone. And then all the air came out of the building because you gave up 3 straight touchdowns. And you could tell the defense had just been on the field too long. And it's because you're playing with a quarterback who's got 1 foot. And all of those earlier drives that were 7 plays, 8 plays, and you came back and you had 3 or 4 plays. That's what really determined the end of this game. 3 touchdowns in 4 possessions. The Utah defense for 3.5 quarters dominated this football game. I think what did Utah have? I think 9 tackles for loss in this game.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Utah's defense showed up, dude.
It's wild.
Listen, all the Tech knee padders are going to say that Tech is miles better and Utah sucks. And hey, man, have your day. Cool, man. But I'm not here for that. I'm here for an honest conversation about this game. Yeah. My biggest concern, number one, I think I tweeted this on Saturday, but this is Kyle Whittingham's legacy now, dude. It's locked in. It's engraved in stone, bro. You have a great defense every single year. Typically, your special teams is pretty good. And your offense is, with all due respect, terrible. And I don't care why it's terrible now. That's the problem. Like it used to be, like I
Doesn't
said,
matter.
hey, hey, you just run the ball too much. You can't recruit quarterbacks. Well, now you do have a decent quarterback. I think the best quarterback you've had in a while. Not saying he's the best quarterback in college football, but the guy can run around, the guy can make plays, and he's got a good arm.
Yes.
And the problem is, with all due respect, my personal opinion is I don't buy the Dan Pierce hurt. I don't buy it. He ran his ass off, dude.
No.
He ran his ass off.
No, you can see it. You can see he doesn't have the quicks. He doesn't have
Okay,
the
well then
get
if
off.
that's the case, if he doesn't have the quicks, if he wasn't healthy, whatever we want to say, then Kyle Whittingham needs to be accountable for the fact that he's lost his edge coaching, because you don't keep him off the injury report, then use it as an excuse when you lost the game. You can't do that as a head coach now.
Yeah, I think I think it's a very interesting conversation. And I have a lot of respect and admiration for Kyle Whittingham. I don't love the way that this is being handled, but let's focus on Texas Tech. They won the game. They came to Salt Lake City in a very difficult place to win, and they won the game. Here's Joey McGuire, the head coach at Texas Tech, updating you on Baron Morton.
Yeah, he's good. He's, he was in the locker room, gave me a big hug, and said congratulations. It's always tough. I mean, that hit that he took, man, that was. I know everybody saw it, man. That was a big hit. We came in, evaluated him. They came back out and said, hey, man, he's doing really, really good. He's in a good spot. So feel good. We're lucky that we have a bye week, because we've got some guys that are what I call football banged up, and that allow us to get some guys back, for the Houston game. But feel good. He was in there celebrating with the team and, gave me a big hug. And I know he's frustrated because, he wants to be out there and he wants to be the guy, leading us down the field. But he'll be back and be ready to go.
Yeah, Joey McGuire talking about Baron Morton. And I love Baron Morton on a garden variety Saturday afternoon. I love the kid. I love the way he plays. I love his moxie. I love his belief. I hate him in a big game. And I think, just looking at all of the throws, you could see he was really tentative. The interceptions were terrible decisions. And Baron is just this guy who is fantastic against Abilene. But then you wind up in Salt Lake City playing in a huge game, and it's just like the guy shrinks. And I've talked about this so many times, and Tech fans last week got really upset about the fact that I was saying, listen, it's great that you beat, Iowa State or like these big games on the road against ranked opponents. And Baron Morton is just not good in those games. You won despite him. And now you have a legitimate defense. I don't know that Texas Tech can consistently run the football. I think we saw the offensive line still needs a lot of tune-ups for Texas Tech. But you have a defense that is disruptive with four guys. You have four legitimate defensive linemen at Texas Tech that make your linebackers simply able to make great plays. And the linebackers at Tech are so disciplined and so able-bodied to tackle and do not fear the big collision in the gap. It just makes for really good defense. Now you got to find a way to get Baron Morton to step up in critical situations and make those throws. Because I think if we get into the meat of this schedule, and I look at Texas Tech, you're on a bye week, so there is no reason you cannot look at this film. Because again, you guys, Texas Tech won this game. The numbers look gaudy. This was a 10-point game. And Texas Tech made an ass load of mistakes. I mean, a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes that a bye week should really be able to clean up. And what I am cautioning Texas Tech fan to do is don't get your tail feathers up. Yeah, keep them tucked in behind. Keep them tucked in behind. Hey, that was a good win for us. Really good test on the road. Yeah, we won on the road, and we got to go to Houston, and then Kansas comes to Lubbock, and they're playing really well. And, then we're Arizona State. And don't forget, we got to go to Manhattan, and we got BYU, who we got to talk about in a minute. Like, Because let me tell you something. Now that you beat Utah, you should go undefeated. And if we're being really honest about Texas Tech, the team that we saw Saturday will be favored in every game for the rest of the season, all things being equal. Now, if a guy gets hurt here or there, okay. All things being equal, Texas Tech should be and will be favored on the road, at home, on Mars for the rest of the year. And you look at this schedule, you're clearly better than Houston. Kansas is probably your most difficult test. And then you get BYU in the last month of the season. What I think that's November, what is that, like November 9th, November 8th at Jones AT&T. You got to get these mental mistakes you're making because Tech fan, let's be brutally honest who you are. You're 484 yards in offense. You're also 14 penalties for 122 yards. That doesn't win you conference championships.
Why didn't you go to a silent count?
Not at well, but you know the ones that really stand out to you. Yeah, I agree. Early in the game, I thought the noise was an issue, but like you even look at some of the minutia penalties. They're just stupid penalties that frankly you don't need, right? Like it's a false start with 5:53 to go in the third quarter because you just and it wasn't loud. I just felt like you didn't know the snap count. What the noise in that particular one, like I've watched that play like 3-4 times. The noise was certainly not at peak in that moment, and he just didn't know the snap count. I felt like
it just wasn't checked in. Yeah,
I think that was the Samson one, and you can't make that mistake, right? And then the thing that bothers you is, okay, you recover from that, but then you look at that long drive, and if you don't get that big play to Caleb Douglas, I think, if you don't get that big play to Caleb Douglas, and I know this is going to sound extreme, if you don't get that big play to Caleb Douglas, do you win this game? Because remember what it led to that big completion. And I look at the notes I took. You had a run that should have been a 1-yard loss. One of the things the refs did in this game that was abysmal, the spotting of the football in this game.
Garbage for both sides. I
have no idea what they were looking at. That's probably at least one and probably a 2-yard loss. They call it line of scrimmage. And then the incompletion, the ball that he throws to Caleb Douglas to end the quarter is just, I mean, it's a terrible throw. Like, and then what happens? You come out on the first play of the fourth quarter and you throw a 33-yard bomb to Caleb Douglas, all the way down to the Utah 27. And I think that's truly where this game changed.
Yeah, I think that inside of these conversations, right? Like them being undisciplined with how many penalties they had, the way the officials in this game officiated the game. Like I think there's a lot of that, but like ultimately, like what really stood out to me is Tech was pretty prepared for the moment, right? I agree. You had too many procedural penalties before the snap. That's got to get cleaned up, and they'll clean that up. And they need to be much better systematically with how they're handling noise and tough environments, and they're going to figure that out. And not ideal to be suffering those issues when you're playing Utah. But what really stood out to me is I can't get away from this sense that Joey McGuire and his staff did a better job preparing their team for this game. Like
absolutely.
Tech came to the building and just felt prepared. Like you were prepared enough to the point to where Baron Morton turning it over, and it wasn't even just the turnovers. Like early in the game, he just didn't look great. Like there were just several
He
throws
didn't
where you're
want to.
yeah,
It
it
looked
just
like he
wasn't
didn't
like,
fucking want to.
yeah, there wasn't that sort of like, again, as I said earlier, like he looks good leading the guys and like he's a great
Yeah.
teammate and he's awesome in the locker room, but like once he's
Looks
out
great,
there, it's
looks great in a uniform.
yeah,
Like
he's got the sleeve and the visor and he's doing the
Typing.
suit. Like I get it, dude. I get it. You have drip and you're cool and it's Texas
Yeah.
Tech and you're the new kid on the block. But I don't know, man. I respect the hell out of Kyle Whittingham. I do, but I'm pretty much at the end of my rope talking about Utah at this point. Like
And
you have
it's the Utah offense. I'm tired of you can't put this on Jason Beck and Devin Dampier. This is uniquely a Kyle Whittingham problem, and it's been this way for 12 years. It's been this way for Kyle Whittingham at some point. Because all we heard all summer and in the fall camp was, oh, it's Jason Beck's offense. It's his. He's this. You need to let him open it up. Let Devin Dampier play the way he's able to play because he's a really good the one interception was just, you got to throw that ball. The one on the left sideline, he tried to throw it 17 yards down the field and he threw it 23 yards down the field. Easily intercepted. You got to throw that ball away. But this thing with the injury report, sorry, man. I'm telling you right now, the Big 12 has to come down hard on Utah.
Well, what would that look like? Would that just be suspension of some variety or what?
I don't know what they would do. I don't know. I couldn't even guess.
I mean, it's not I don't think it's like a monetary fine. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me for this. This is much more of a, hey, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar because you misspoke, which again is.
I don't think he misspoke. He outed himself. Kyle Whittingham today said Devin Dampier couldn't practice last Tuesday and Wednesday.
But why would you say that? That's my point. Why would you say that?
This is a new policy, and I think Whit just said something he shouldn't have said. I don't know why you would say that. I have no idea. But my guess is, and I think I've heard people say this today, you got to take Devin Dampier off the field for a game. You got to suspend him over the violation of this policy. What else would you do?
Well, why would, and I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to understand why would it be Dampier being suspended?
Well, it's that or Whittingham. One of the two's got to be suspended. There has to be. You can't have a policy in place and have it blatantly not followed and then blatantly just blown off in a press conference.
Yeah, just so casually.
Because I'm telling you, and maybe it's just because I've watched a lot of Devin Dampier video now, trying to understand who he is. He was not the same guy Saturday. He was clearly not able. He was fine moving around. But if you've watched any of his tape, there's just a moment where he plants and you don't even know he's gone yet. And he's in the end zone. And you're like, well, where did he go? Oh, he's down there in the end zone. He's got that kind of twitch. And that was non-existent Saturday. It's not an excuse. That I'm not making an excuse. What I'm telling you is it's very clear the cat's not well. And he didn't practice Tuesday and Wednesday. Somebody's got to get slapped in the bag for that. And it's Whittingham or it's Dampier. One of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's that. I also think that, if you look at the last couple of seasons, and when I say the last couple of seasons, I'm taking this back to, the Rose Bowl probably, where you lost that game after Cam went out. It just seems like this program, for whatever reason, and it's not, I don't think it's entirely on Whit. Like, obviously, he's the head coach. Okay, he bears the responsibility. But when we're actually talking about, like, tactics and X and O's and mechanism, like, I don't know why this program just seemingly gets to the big stage, has big noon kickoff, got to the Rose Bowl, has been in big spots, and it just doesn't work out. And it doesn't mean they suck, but it's like, hey, like, this is a huge game, everything's in front of you, like, you've looked pretty good, it's just frustrating that
it is.
At some point, like, again, and I'm not saying that because you lost this game, Whit should retire. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that I think the conversation's bigger than just the injury report thing. Like at some point, this team needs to, needs to just get it together in these big moments and find a way to overcome. Like the Fano penalty was where I got really pissed off. Like that's unacceptable. That is undisciplined. And you know what bothered me the most? On the replay, watching the film, what does he do? He's beating that guy's ass in the block, absolutely dominating the guy. And then realizes, he says, this is not a run play, fellas. This is a pass play, and I'm way too far down the field. And even looks back. Like, how does that happen, dude? Like, how? Like, that's I'm just like, damn.
Yeah. I don't know. Jake is starting to sound like Max Headroom. Yeah, Jake was having a little.
What does that even mean?
Wow. You were having a little glitchy there, but that's fine. I don't know. James, listen, we really got to have a talk about it. They didn't lie about Dampier. The kid probably wanted to play, even though he wasn't 100%, he's a competitor. So it has nothing to do with if he played in the game or not. It's an injury report, and it is mandatory in the Big 12. Kyle Whittingham said at his presser today, Eric Dampier was not able to practice Tuesday and Wednesday. What does that have to do with the kid wanting to play? Absolutely nothing. What does it have to do with the gamblers in Vegas? Absolutely everything. That's what this is about. And I'm just telling you, it's not about the kid wanting to play. Big Pontiff, if you suspend Witt, what difference will it really make? Morgan will be the coach, one game audition. It's, and I know what you mean, because Morgan's going to be the coach. I firmly believe now, if this continues, and Utah's got a daunting schedule. I think Utah's got one of the more difficult conference schedules ahead. You got to go to Morgantown. I mean, you're better than Pitt, so you're probably going to beat wholesale ass in Morgantown. But then you come home for Arizona State before you go to Provo, who we're going to talk about in 2 minutes here, and play BYU. This is a stretch where you could lose 3 of 4 very easily. Very easily. That's not even... Arizona State's better than Texas Tech. And I look at Colorado, Cincinnati, Baylor sucks, Kansas State, we have no idea. And Kansas. This is let me just keep saying it real with you. Bowl eligibility is what you should be worried about first. Because I saw the Utah fans this weekend saying, "Oh, we're still going to win the conference, Monty." Okay, that's cool. Why don't you become bowl eligible first? Because I don't think this is a slam dunk. Because do I think they beat West Virginia? Yeah. Do I think they beat Arizona State at home? I think I probably do believe that. Do they go to Provo and win? I have no idea, because the BYU I saw this weekend, if we're being honest, I am stunned